Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving straight into a really fascinating training module called Create What You Want. And honestly, we're about to completely flip how we think about confidence. You know, so often we treat confidence like this mystical aura, right? Like some days you wake up and the universe just hands it to you, and other days it completely ghosts you. But the text we're digging into today, it suggests something totally different. It argues that confidence isn't just some fleeting feeling, it's a trained, architectural habit. So let's get right into it and see how we can actually build this from the ground up.
Think about this for a second. Can you actually boost your self-esteem without realizing it? It sounds almost, contradictory, doesn't it? Kind of like you're hacking your own subconscious. Usually when we think about building self-esteem, we picture intense, deliberate effort. Standing in front of a mirror, awkwardly repeating positive affirmations. But this provocative question really sets up the ultimate promise of the whole training methodology we're going to unpack. What if the growth just happens quietly in the background?
Well, it turns out this isn't just a hypothetical scenario. It's pulled word for word from our source material on the Create What You Want module. The text specifically points out that participants are trained in a way where they actually boost their self-esteem without realizing it. And man, that completely flips the traditional personal development script on its head. It implies that if you just focus on the right underlying mechanics, the feeling of high self-esteem naturally follows on its own, almost by accident.
All right, moving into section 1, defining habitual action. To really grasp this, we have to shift our perspective a bit. We need to stop looking at confidence as an innate personality trait, like you're either born with it or you're not, and start viewing it as a systematic blueprint. So let's define our terms here. Habitual action is simply the process of converting a specific behavior into an automatic repeated action. Say, speaking up clearly in a high-stakes meeting. The source material explains that participants are explicitly trained on exactly how to convert behavior into this automatic state. Because let's face it, willpower drains over the course of the day. But a habitual action? That just runs on autopilot. What's really cool about this is how it structurally reframes self-esteem. It takes this massive, heavy, sometimes incredibly intimidating concept of self-worth and basically turns it into a simple input-output equation. It's a mechanical conversion. You input a specific behavior, you apply the training, and boom, the output is a habitual action. And, just like we talked about a second ago, the byproduct of that habitual action running in the background is a stealthy little boost to your self-esteem. Which brings us to section 2, mind and body repetition. So how exactly do we fuel this behavioral conversion engine? Well, the module lays out a very specific dual-layered methodology. On one side of the coin, you have mental repetition. That's visualizing the success of your action, like picturing yourself totally calm, answering a really tough question. But on the other side, you have physical repetition, actually putting your body through the physical motions. The source text makes this absolutely unequivocal. The exercise has to be repeated both mentally, but also physically. You can't just sit in a dark room, close your eyes, and actually, scratch that. You can't just think your way to unshakable confidence. But at the same time, you can't just go through the physical motions mindlessly either. The training demands that both are engaged at the exact same time. And that brings us to the core triad. The exercise needs mental repetition, physical repetition, and it has to result in consistent habitual action. I really want to emphasize this mind-body connection because the logic here is just rock solid. Your brain absolutely needs to mentally rehearse the scenario to build those neural pathways, right? But your physical body, it needs to experience the physiological reality of the action, the slightly elevated heart rate, the upright posture, the steady breathing. You literally cannot have one without the other if your goal is to build lasting self-esteem that operates totally under the radar. Okay, let's jump into section 3, small steps at work. It's time to take all this theory out of the training room, because let's be real, confidence doesn't mean much if you can't actually use it in your day-to-day career. So here is the direct instructional manual, the confidence journey straight from the text. Step 1, focus on converting that desired behavior into a habit. Step 2, solidify it by repeating the exercise mentally and physically. And then step 3, take it out into the wild and try a small step in the workplace. This progression is brilliant because it illustrates exactly how private, internal training translates into external action. You're doing all the heavy lifting behind the scenes so that the public execution is just a totally natural extension of your habits. I really want to zoom in on this specific phrase from the source. A small step to show a confidence level. Notice how manageable that sounds?
It doesn't say you need to overhaul your entire personality by tomorrow morning or suddenly hijack a boardroom to give an impromptu keynote speech. No way. The goal here isn't massive, terrifying leaps that send you into fight or flight mode. The whole strategy relies on deliberate, bite-sized demonstrations. Maybe it's just choosing to be the first person to ask a question on a Zoom call. Or maybe it's sending an email without adding those soft qualifiers like, I just think, or maybe. Just small steps.
Slowly, but steadily. That is the required pacing for integrating this into your work life. It's meant to be gradual. It's meant to be constant. And honestly, above all else, it's unhurried. By moving slowly but steadily, you keep your nervous system from freaking out and getting overwhelmed. And tying it all back to the very beginning of our explainer, this slow and steady pace is exactly how you bypass your internal resistance. It's how you let that self-esteem boost happen without even realizing you're doing it.
So, I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought. Based on the architecture of the Create What You Want module we just explored, what small step will you try in the workplace today to build your habitual confidence? Remember, true confidence isn't magic, it's architecture. It's built through mental and physical repetition, converted into an automatic habit, and applied slowly but steadily. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive today. Go out there, take that small step, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.